Hey everybody. I just want to talk a little bit about something, but in chicken news today, okay, yesterday I decided to cut spurs on Sebastian and, my big Brahma rooster, and on my porcelain Belgian Danver Aubrey. Aubrey, who's 9.5 years old and who doesn't like to be touched and who freaks out when I go near him and he thinks I'm going to pick him up. That Aubrey. What I call dragon feet, because it's got scales that stick up and it's not scaly leg mites. I've tried to fix his feet. I can't. But anyway, Aubrey has a tendency to grow very long spurs. And Aubrey's spurs, from his little, he's like this tall, right? Aubrey's this tall. he's literally about that tall. And his spurs curve from his legs. They curve outward, around, and down. So they're curving around to the back and downward, where they about touch the ground, where they do touch the ground. And Aubrey has a tendency to turn dark purple, and it looks like he's going to die when you actually grab him. He'll bite you, but he freaks out. It's like he's going to faint in your arms. So I was to the point I thought, I'm going to have to risk his life and try to cut a little bit off these spurs, because this is getting in his way of walking. Alright, well, Bash I got. Bash, I wrap him in a towel, hold him on his side, hold his leg so, the Dremel tool doesn't cut his other leg. His spurs were like that long and curved. They were like hooking together. But they're very thin. And like little stilettos. They're very thin, and it doesn't take long to get through his. So we cut an inch or two off of his really fast, and he was fine. He's a good boy. He's easy, even though he doesn't like to be held still and that whirring sound, right? Aubrey was an interesting thing. As always, when we try to catch him, we put him in the pen, of course, where he's got a limited space. And we spend time going around and around the pen, and he's running from corner to corner and jumping over things and, freaking out far beyond how fast we're moving. And usually you wait for him to duck his head into a corner, and then you can get him. Well, yesterday, my husband's going very slow, and he's waiting for him to trap himself, and all of a sudden he gets himself and he dives sort of behind the PVC feeder, which is a long tube that sits like on a 4x4 piece sitting up there. It's a long tube and it's against the wall, but he dove sort of behind the end of it. And Tom picks him up, and I look at him and I said, "Oh my gosh!" I said, "He's removed a spur." One entire spur was gone, and it was just the tiny little short pointy nub. The root of it was sticking out, bloody, and his spur was gone. So in all the running around, he had caught it on something, what I wasn't sure at the time, and ripped his own spur off of one leg. And I said, well, let's just go cut the other one really quick. He's not really bleeding very fast. I put some DE, some diatomaceous earth, sort of dipped that spur root into that, because DE makes a much better bloodstop powder than anything else, than even bloodstop powder. So I did that, and we got the other spur off, and of course, as Tom's handing Aubrey to me, Aubrey bites me. That's part of the course. He never has learned in his almost 10 years of life that he's not going to be hurt, that we have his best interests at heart. But, he's really not that smart. Not that smart. He's dumb as a box of rocks. So, anyway, we do that, and I put him back down, and I found his spur laying in the opening of the PVC feeder. It's the pipe, it's got the food in it, and, Tom's cut a section out for them to stick their head in and eat. Well, he's obviously caught it on the edge of that opening, and it ripped it right off his leg. Well, the rest of the day he was walking around limping, and he was holding his foot up because it hurt him. And last night at roost time he went, and I went to lock them up, and he's laying on the floor under the roost. And he obviously is in pain too much for him to jump up the two steps to the roost where everybody else is already sitting for nighttime. And I said, "Oh, Aubrey." So I went and got some hay, some straw rather, and I went and I thought, if I try to tuck this around him, because it's going to be cooler tonight, not super cold, it's going to be in the 30s, but he's on the floor, and he's a little bitty guy, and it's always colder on the floor, obviously, so I thought I'll just push some straw around him, if I can. So I kind of broke it in half and kind of put it sort of around him because he was sitting next to a milk crate nest box, so he's kind of enclosed, and I put him around him and he didn't move, and I went, oh, you really are hurting because this is unusual. I thought, will you let me push it a little closer to you? So I pushed actually up to him and he didn't move. I thought, oh, he's really hurting. So I put that there and I pulled the heat lamp down and pointed it toward him a little bit so that he would get some heat. Because he's very old. And he has a heart problem or something, you know. So this morning I go in there and he's still in the same position he was last night. He hasn't moved. And I go in there and I get close to him and I'm reaching down to him. I'm looking down. He's still not moving. Finally, when I reach down to touch him, he jumps up and he can't walk on his leg. He's like thumping, you know. He's trying to get away from me, but he can't walk. And I'm thinking, oh no. When he pulled that spur off, I wonder if he pulled his leg, if he broke something or dislocated or just sprained it. So we put him in another cage for a little while under a better heat lamp, one where we could really feel the heat. Because with a leg injuries can be fatal. Because you have soft tissue injury and you get an internal infection from that, believe it or not. And at his age and his size, everything's worse. So I put him under there and gave him some food. I already had brought them some scrambled egg that had a crushed aspirin on it. He'd already chowed down on that a little bit, just in the sitting position he was in. So I put him aside and left him there while I did the chores, and then went back and, you know, tried to reach down, and he jumped up and he's walking around, so he's okay. I thought I was going to have to put him down. So, whew, crisis averted with that one. He's still acting like he's in pain, but he's not acting like his leg is actually permanently he may have sprained it when he pulled that spur off, but for now, he's okay. And then, of course, I've got the typical Brahma issue. Brandy, remember my naked chicken? Her feathers are all in, but her crop is not functioning properly. She has a doughy crop. You know, it's not gassy and bloaty, and it's not impacted, but it's like bread dough. It's like this big doughy ball, and it's not moving out. The food's not moving out of the crop, so it will be sour. It's going to sit there and ferment. So there is a solution that that has worked in the past for doughy crop, and is that I've seen different formulas for this. You take a teaspoon of lemon juice. You add 1/8 of a teaspoon each of, I think, cinnamon and ginger, ground cinnamon, ground ginger, and one thing says chili powder, one says cayenne pepper. So the first one I used that worked, I used the chili powder. And also, people have talked about garlic water. So you know, you can also take, if you get these little jars of minced garlic, you know, it has juice, so that garlic juice in it. You can maybe pour a little bit off of that in there, and mix that up. And you take and maybe put a teaspoon of water in there, because you know, straight lemon juice is gag worthy. And you take a syringe and you squirt it into the beak. Don't put it down their throat, because if you get into the windpipe, you could kill them. So you basically don't put it down that far. You just kind of open the beak and squirt it in, so they have to swallow it. And you're supposed to do that 2 or 3 times a day. Now, I've never done it 2 or 3 times a day, but in the past it has worked for another Brahma. I'm trying to do that with Brandy, and it's not working as well as it did before. So I'm trying that solution. We're massaging the crop. We're trying to make sure she's getting water in there. A lot of times they're not drinking enough water. So I'm trying to do that. So, you know, I think some good thoughts for Brandy, because if I can't get her crop moving, she's lost a lot of weight through this molt, this heavy molt. Excuse me. She may pass away. So, and she's my favorite. Of course, she's my favorite of all the Brahmas, because she's just the sweetest thing, and she comes running to me, and you know, she's raised so many chicks. But anyway, that's the chicken news of the day. And you know, it amazes me. Somebody said the other thing about, is it too late to prep now? And honestly, if in 2020 you ain't got any more extra than a couple of bags of Doritos and 2 6-packs of beer, and that is your extra preps, you're, as Reba McEntire would say in her extreme southern drawl, you're a moron. Now, I'm not name calling anybody specifically. I'm saying if that is your mindset and if that is all you have done, you really haven't done anything. After everything we've seen and after everything everybody's said, and all the things you watch, if the only thing you watch is ABC News and you haven't watched any YouTube videos and nobody's told you you better get something done, I mean, you really shouldn't have to have anybody tell you that. After you see what's missing in the stores, you should have started getting extra stuff almost a year ago. You're just not real bright. Come on, people. And now there's not a whole lot to get. You're either a moron or you're the queen of denial, or king of denial. You know, and if people, you know, there's the thing about, will you help your family? Well, the Patriot Nurse had a very good video a couple days ago about, you know, not being an enabler to people. And this was in general. This wasn't about prepping necessarily. This is about everything. If you continue to help people who make consistently bad decisions, you're not helping. Just like I said on my video years ago, if you give money to people who are mishandlers of money to solve their problems, all that does is give them more money to mishandle. They need to learn how to handle their money better. Throwing more money at their problems doesn't help them at all. All you're doing is enabling their mismanagement of their money. And it's the same with prepping. If after everything you've told them and everything they've seen with their own eyes this year, they haven't done something, and you hand them something and they come back to you for more and you give them something else again, you've just become an enabler. That's all you've become. So there's that. And does my channel seem to look like a troll train to you? Oh my goodness, where are these people coming from? I've had to delete a couple of people in the last couple days. The one this morning, you know, I'm sorry if you saw that. But in general, if you don't like what somebody says, if you are not of the same mindset and you don't really intend to listen to what this person has to say, you don't think they have anything of value to tell you at all, then why are you here? Why are you at that channel? Why don't you just cruise on by? I mean, I know it takes a lot of willpower to do that. For people who love to fight, I guess it does take some willpower. But honestly, if you want your own platform, YouTube is open to you. YouTube loves some of these people that are arguing with me, calling me names, telling me I have no substance. It's not that I have no substance, it's just that you don't like the substance I'm made of. Just admit it. You just don't like my opinions. If you don't, I didn't ask you to listen to my video. Nobody's tied you to a chair. You can leave. You don't have to slap me on the way out. You can just walk out the door. Yeah, don't have to do that. Don't let the channel hit you in the behind on the way out. But honestly, people, you know, it's amazing. People are so mean about certain things. I mean, I did a video a few years ago. It's like, why are people so ugly to each other? We're talking about keyboard courage. And I'm thinking, and I'm getting a thumbs down on it. I'm like, who doesn't, what kind of thing is it, how is it bad for me to say people should be kind to each other? How is that a bad thing? I guess it is to the nasty trolls who don't want to be nice, but wow, people, you can't say anything right, can you? So, you know, I do this all the time. I cruise on by a lot of channels. And believe me, some of the channels, some of the out there, religious channels even, I'm thinking, oh, that title, oh, I need to talk to this person, but I'm thinking, no, leave them to their whatever. And, you know, it's like, it's not even worth it because, you know, let them say what they want to say. They've got a channel. You can have a channel. I got a channel. You can have a channel. That's what YouTube's about. Everybody can have a channel. They only censor conservatives these days. They only fact check people that they don't like the content of their channel. It has nothing to do with whether the facts are right or not. They call it fact checking, but it's not, because the fact checker, do you know who that is? It's a former executive of CNN. Yeah, he's really objective. So, you know, everybody can have a channel. And until you get a big enough following, they'll probably let you say pretty much what you want to say. And then if they don't like your content, they'll say, well, you have violated community standards. But you know, everybody can have a channel. If you don't like this channel, don't hang around here. Leave. Okay? But you don't get to come here and insult me, call me names, think of the worst thing you can call me, and dish it up. If you don't like it, walk out. It's real easy. I do it all the time. I do it so many times on channels. If it's a channel I know I'm not going to agree with, I don't even go there. If it's something I know is going to make me extremely angry and upset my day, I just don't go there. Now, I'm not talking about people who disagree and have a civil discussion. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about out and out evil troll who came with a figurative pitchfork and baseball bat to beat me up with. We don't, this year, and from now on, I have a 0 tolerance policy, and I have a -1 policy for trolls. And I don't even, sometimes I don't even finish reading the comment, because when it starts out, well, I got through about a minute of this video, and then I thought, then chop, done. Because when they start out like that, you know it's going to be bad. You know it's going to be bad. How, and to quote Stephanie Tanner on Full House, how rude. How rude. Your mom didn't teach you no manners, did she? Yeah, there are such a thing as manners. There are. People are supposed to have those these days. Even if you don't agree with somebody, you're supposed to have manners. You're supposed to have tact and manners. Boy, those are two things that are like the dinosaurs. Anyhow, that's enough of that. I'm sorry if you saw the nasty comment, but you know, I didn't even finish reading it. I just banned the person from my channel because I'm not having it. It's my channel. This is my platform. I come to help. I come to educate. I come to rant sometimes. Yeah, I do. I come to educate about chickens. I come to show gardens, you know, what I've done, mistakes I've made, ways you might can do things. I have another aspect of my channel that has to do with older homesteaders. I own small acreage. I do it on in a limited basis. I'm as self-sufficient as we can get at our age with our infirmities, and anybody can do it at a certain level. Anybody can do it to a certain level. And you have to fight through the pain, and you have to fight through a lot of things. And that's what this channel is about. And it's a little hard this year to ignore the political aspect that might affect if you can homestead freely or you won't be able to. Just like the NAIS. Look at that video about the NAIS. About the government. What does the government have to do with your chickens? Shouldn't have anything to do with your chickens, really. But so much of it applied to homesteaders and preppers this year that I could not avoid this subject, or I'd be like an ostrich with my head in the sand. It's difficult to avoid it. And yes, I have a certain perspective. Doesn't everybody? Mine's just as valid as yours. Everybody has a certain perspective. If you don't like mine, zip it and go somewhere else. Or find something about the channel you do like and you can get on board with, and leave the rest alone. I know it takes self-control. Don't see a lot of that this year in a lot of people, but you know, it's a great trait to develop. It just takes going, I'm not going to say a word, it's not worth it. Nope, not typing that. So easy. I do it all the time. So, to my subscribers they're my regular subscribers I talk to from time to time, I like y'all. I value your opinions. I value that you come here, and you know, if I could sit us on this front porch with the beverage of your choice and sit here and talk in person, I would do that. But this is the way we talk. And I'm considering one of these days trying to do a live. I'm not sure how I could do it. I've done a live before in a Facebook group a long time ago. But, so I can do it with my computer webcam, but it has to be in my room, and yeah, I don't know. It's a little tricky. But I thought about doing that. Well, I'm not sure what we have to talk about. I don't have any moderators for my live, so if the trolls end up in there, I'd need to have somebody smack them with a whip for me. But anyway, I'm going to quit rambling. It is cold today. We are expecting snow tomorrow night, a little bit of snow. It's the dampness in the air is building. It's not that cold temperature-wise, but you can feel the dampness in the air today. So I just made my younger groups went out, but the rest of them I'm leaving in the barn. They may be in the barn for days because it's supposed to snow. And tonight's low is going to be, I think, 42, but tomorrow's high is 44, and then it's dropping. So we're going into the teens, which is nothing for people up north. And you know, I lived in Dayton, Ohio, so I've had 25 below zero plus ice plus snow. So I've been there. I've also lived in Denver. So I know how that is. I like that better than Ohio. Ohio's like the suckiest weather on the planet. This weather is, it can get to zero here, but we're starting to get some real winter weather here, for here. And I'm going to go inside because my hands are frozen. But yeah, I'm going to put a picture of Aubrey's spur that he lost, that he pulled off himself. And don't ignore the dirty fingernails. I actually soaked in the tub last night. And I still ended up, when I took a picture of that spur this morning, I went, I have dirt under my fingernails still. It's like, it just doesn't go away. It's like you have to scrub with a nail brush to get the dirt out from this life we live. So ignore the dirty fingernails, but you'll see that spur. That's the full spur that he pulled off. It came from, I mean, that sucker's, and remember now, he's this tall. When he stands up, his head's like maybe that tall. He's that tall. Imagine those spurs on that tiny little bird, that far from the spur to his foot to where the spur is like there. So imagine that thing coming out and curving down and hitting the ground. That's what he was walking with. So I'll catch y'all later. Have a good day. Have a good week that's coming up, and it should be a doozy. Every one of them has been lately. Bye.